Well, holy moly, Broncos country. How are we feeling? How are we feeling today, man? The Broncos just flipped the script on the Eagles, and the Eagles flipped the script on the Broncos. What an unbelievable signature win today, coming all the way back. This team was down 17-3 going into the fourth quarter and came back and won the game 21-17. I am happy to be joined by Kodiak. Kodiak, how you feeling, man, after an unbelievable game?
Stunned. I literally thought there was no way we could pull it out. That's just the best way I can describe it. And, it feels nice to be on the other side of these games because it feels like since the beginning of last season, we've been the team that's been the one that absolutely pissed it away in the fourth quarter, that committed the penalties the Eagles did, that made the mental lapses and the mistakes that they did during that time period. But it was just really, really cool that we finally got our signature win, road win over a very, very good NFL team, the Super Bowl champions. And I think, how many had they won coming into the game? 20 straight?
I think it was 12 straight, and they were 20-1 in their last 21.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Something crazy like that.
That is insane. And yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Insanity, man. Unbelievable win. I mean, listen, this is one of those. This is the biggest win, obviously, in the Sean Payton era. You can make the argument it's the biggest win since Super Bowl 50. Just thinking about the way in which things could have get swayed, because it was one point in the game, man. I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking oh, now you got to play a desperate Jets team in London where you have no idea what's going to happen, and then you got to come all the way home, and it's never easy when you've been traveling that long. And so, but it's crazy how you win the game and all of a sudden everything is flipping. But man, such a kudos today to Sean Payton. I mean, unbelievable. Just his ability. What was so happy about me, and I'd love to get your take on Sean Payton overall. But what I loved is he did not panic like I felt like he normally does and tried to air it out. They stuck with their run game. They stayed on schedule. They said there was no panic because they knew it was only 2 possessions. The defense started to play well. And, man, that run game, they ended up just really wearing the team down. Had some unbelievable drives, 2 of them to be specific, and came back. So, what are your thoughts overall on the way Sean Payton handled all that?
I thought it was absolutely phenomenal the way he coached this football game. And once again, it looked more of the same in the first half. It looked more of the same. I think for the first 12 third downs of the game, we were 4, or we had converted on 3 or 4 of them. And I was just all right, it's more of the same. We were seeing those issues, creep up, the penalties, the lack of execution on early downs. But once we kind of started to stun Philly, we got into the groove, which shout out to the defense, man. They did give up their plays today, but shout out to them for getting that football back and causing Philly to be in uncomfortable situations. And overall, the offense took care of the rest. And that was an absolutely phenomenal job by all 53 guys on this team. So, but Sean Payton specifically, I'm really, really happy with how he coached this game because he was saying, guys, don't worry about London. We're flying across the pond tonight, but don't worry about that. Don't got to worry about that. So
on a short week.
Yeah, on a short week, which, I guess coming into the season, we thought the Bengals game was going to be a lot more high intensity than it was. We only really played 2.5 quarters of football last week. That being said, it still mattered, for your preparation or whatever. So, yeah. And I think coming into the year, I penciled the Broncos to be 3-2 after week 5. And I don't know how you had them, but, 3-2 after week 5, we are right on schedule. The only thing I had flipped was a loss to the Eagles, which ended up being a loss to the Colts instead. But what are you thinking about, how you thought about this game relative to the offseason? What were you thinking about it when it was first on our schedule?
Well, when it was first on our schedule, I think I had it penciled in as a loss, right? And obviously so many things change. But I knew going into the week, it was going to be such a litmus test game. It was going to be, okay, where is this team at in comparison to where they were last year, right? And for the first 3 quarters, it looked like we haven't made a lot of progress. Just couldn't get anything going. Stupid penalties. Because it was crazy because there was a lot of moments in the game early where we were moving the ball and then 1 penalty and then killed the drive. And then we moved the ball and then 1 penalty again and killed the drive. So that was where I was getting frustrated. But their ability to just come back, man, their ability to show the kind of grit that they needed to and the confidence. The balls that Sean Payton has to go for 2. What he's doing with that. At first I was freaking out, but then obviously when they did it, it worked out, but I still didn't like the call afterwards. But then afterwards, I'm thinking, he literally was so confident. He's like, they're not going to score on us. And we feel like, if anything, we're going to get the ball back. So worst case, we don't make it. We're going to have a field goal to take the lead or win the game. That shows crazy amount of confidence. I think it kind of made the Eagles play a little bit tight because it's a really weird decision to do. And obviously it worked out wonderfully well, man. And dude, I mean, Bo Nix was nails. He did so well today, just avoiding the bad mistakes, making the plays as they came. They adjusted super well to the Vic Fangio offense. And I mean, ends up with a touchdown, 242 yards. The run game was amazing. Again, 130 yards. And then Cortland Sutton was just crushed it today too, man. Absolutely crushed it. So what a game. What a game, man. I'm like still kind of shocked and at a loss for words. But to take it back to your original question, I think this is such a season-defining win. Because it's like you went through a very up and down first month of the season, right? You won 2 games, but then you lost 2 games you absolutely had no business losing. And I guess right when it turns over to October, man, Sean Payton knows what he's doing. And you end up stealing this win. You get to 3-2. And I think you're building some great momentum into a stretch of games that are all very winnable. We should be able to go on hopefully a really good run here. So it was crazy, man. Anybody that you felt like, really stood out to you today for the Broncos?
Man, going beyond the obvious of just Bo Nix and going just beyond the obvious of Cortland Sutton, I was really proud of the defense. Like I said, we put Philly in a bunch of uncomfortable situations, and props to them for staying focused because they literally could have quit after Philly went up 17-3. It could have been, honestly, I probably would have quit if I were the Broncos because I'd just be like, all right, we got to fly across the pond, whatever. Let's just put this one behind us. It was going to be a hard game regardless. But, man, the defense was absolute clamps in the second half. By the way, Nick Bonito finished this game with 2.5 sacks. One of them was to get the ball back to have the drive where we could kick the field goal. And then another one of them was on the Eagles' final drive, which burned 10, 15, 20 seconds off the clock. And as we saw, every second that the Eagles had, every yard they got was valuable. So MVP of this game, in my opinion, Nick Bonito.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think Nick Bonito he's everybody in the league now knows who the hell Nick Bonito is. He's been really good against the run as well this year. He's just a terror, man. But we ended up with 6 sacks total as a team, which is pretty amazing against a pretty good Philadelphia team and a guy in Jalen Hurts that really doesn't take a lot of sacks either. And Gregory Miller, he's always in the comments. He's always in my comments coming at me. But yes, I owned up to this already last week. I never wanted to cut Cortland Sutton. I just didn't want to pay Cortland Sutton elite wide receiver 1 money. And I still stand by that, but I'm happy that we got him for what we got him. He's phenomenal. He's been an amazing player. But man, it's such a big win. Is there any time in this game where you felt like there's no chance we're going to come back?
Yeah, like I said, after halftime, I was like, Philly's getting this ball. And, even more so after they went up 17-3, I was just like, it's not really going to happen in my opinion. But once we had that good drive to go up from 17-10 or to go from 17-3 to 17-10, I was like, man, we're down a touchdown, but it feels like we're down by 20. And then the defense forced a quick stop. And then, obviously we take the ball and then we go down the field. And man, during that point, I was freaking out on Sean Payton. Like, I know you said you were kind of freaking out when you saw us lining up to go for the 2-point conversion as well, because honestly, I'm pretty conservative in those situations. Like last year, I still stand by the fact that they didn't go for 2 in Cincinnati. And, that's just usually how I am. Last week when Bo Nix threw that interception, I said to my dad before when they were lining up, I was like, man, I would kick this right here. But the fact that you had the guts to go in there, and Sean Payton, he said it in his press conference. He said, we were not going into Philly to not win. Like, we played this game with the intensity and the aggression to win this football game. So, yeah, I was very, very happy. And shout out to everybody shouting out Benito in the chat because he did phenomenal. Yeah. He was absolutely amazing today.
Yeah.
And we don't win this football game without him, Sutton, or even Bo Nix, in my opinion. So, big team effort from all our core guys. And this is something we have not really seen with this current core we've had. We have a tendency to melt down in these situations, but it was the other team melting down and us capitalizing on their opportunities as well. Like Zach Bond, man, you got to be smarter in that situation. Just as a football fan, you got to be so much smarter there. You know, the Eagles shifting two guys. I saw that before the snap. I was like, illegal shift. And either way, what do you think about all that?
No, I mean, it was amazing. It was just a breath of fresh air to see the team put together all of their stupid, controllable, mistakes at the most crucial time in this game. And you see what happens when the offense is able to get into a rhythm, and have sustained drives. And then it gives the defense a break. And so it was just nice to see them, because it was ugly for the first few quarters, but to be able to do it all together in the fourth, claw their way back. I mean, this was totally a game I feel like the Broncos really had no business winning, especially given, a lot of last year and so far this season. But they learned something, and that's the most important thing you always talk about. You want the Broncos to learn from all the bad mistakes that they did, and it seems like they did. They learned it. And what's been impressive about this team too, man, is we haven't even fumbled the ball once. I think the only fumble we had technically was Marvin Mims in the special teams. But offensively, we're taking care of the football. And Bo Nix did have a fumble, but earlier on. But I'm talking about, I guess, specifically the running backs and the pass catchers. They've done a really good job of protecting the ball and just doing the little things. And that all really came out at the end of that game. But, man, I'm such on a high. That was incredible. And it was nice to see some calls go in our favor after a very ugly – like, there was a lot of ticky-tack calls from the ref, throughout the beginning of the game. Some of them I was like, okay. Some of them was like, for real. But it seemed like they tried to get a couple makeup calls later. And, you got to love that. So.
Yeah, I felt like the ref was doing, how do you put this, quite a bit of home cooking in the first half, if you will. But
totally.
Yeah, if there is anybody that I can immediately say that I'm not too happy with their performance, I'm like, J.L. Skinner, thank you for your services, but we can't put him out there on prevent defense again.
Yeah, I was confused by that, because even on the pass interference, like, why, dude, if you let him catch it, it's actually better.
Yeah.
Because the clock's still going. They're going to get the ball there anyways if you interfere them. So you might as well have them catch it and keep the clock going and take some more seconds off the clock. But yeah, that was weird. So hopefully something that they can learn from there too, man. But
yeah. Although what I will say is that even if they had not called that really long defensive pass interference, the Eagles weren't scoring. We were so clamps in the second half that the Eagles weren't scoring. That's the way I feel about it.
No, I agree. And it was nice because it seemed like even VJ didn't want to veer off of his game plan. Like, he kept saying, all right, like, they were testing him to go deep, and they'd get him, here and there, but they kind of stuck with it. And they eventually knew that it's not always going to happen like that against our secondary. So he kind of stuck with that too. But man, just the guts. I mean, this I think was a ginormous defining game for Bo Nix, in my opinion. Because obviously he didn't play very well for, 3/4 of the game, played unbelievable in the fourth, but just he showed something really special in that fourth quarter. And it almost seemed like, regardless of what, like, they had a bad offensive pass interference call against Pat Bryant, which was awful. Yeah, that got us from 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 15. And without blinking, Sutton Nix just hits Sutton for 34 yards and keeps it going. So it was those kinds of things, man. It was awesome to see. It was really, really great to see from this team. So anything else that you wanted to touch on specifically?
First half, I wasn't too thrilled with like what we were doing, especially defensively. I was like, okay, that 3rd and 17. I was like, dude, why are we putting PS2 and Moss on islands? I was like, why are we putting our corners on islands in that situation? And why was Benito and Cooper not on the field? At that point, I was like, man, I don't think Vance Joseph is in his bag today. But that was really the only gripe I had. Also, Singleton, covering Saquon Barkley out of the backfield, that should never happen ever. But credit to the Eagles for, I guess, taking advantage of that. But regardless, other than that, I thought Vance Joseph called about as good of a game as you can call against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know that their offensive coordinator has been under a lot of fire lately, especially after they lost Kellen Moore to the New Orleans Saints. So, yeah, it was a little interesting that everything had gone the way that it had on the defensive side of the ball, but then they really locked in. And yes, the Eagles did shoot themselves in the foot a lot. But hey, it's one of those things where, good teams take advantage of that. Usually the Eagles are taking advantage of the other team shooting themselves in the foot. Usually other teams are taking advantage of us shooting ourselves in the foot. So the fact that we were able to flip the script, and it was nice to be on the other side of the coin for once.
Yeah, and I think taking the lead. I mean, I think that's why going for that 2-point conversion and ultimately getting it really paid off, because you're almost forcing the Eagles to, like, now they have to shift away from what they were doing, and it makes them a lot more predictable. And the Broncos can just be like, all right, we're just gonna like sell out and cover you guys. So I feel like that helped. And obviously they got tight and they were making a lot of mental lapses. And again, I mean, Bronco fan 99 nailed it. This is a really good example of it later in the game. Like, what is it? 3rd and 8 inside the 10-yard line. You get 8 yards. You get a game's over. But he didn't. I don't think it ended up being a sack. I think it was like a 1-yard run. But regardless, he didn't force it. He said, take this off play. It's those small things that you like to see from your young quarterback being able to really understand, and that is coaching, man, and that is winning football. Ain't no doubt about it. And amazing. I can't even remember the last time the Broncos have traveled East Coast at an 11 a.m. game and gotten a win. It almost seems like that's like the Peyton Manning era. Because I know we played a primetime game there in Buffalo, but I do not remember the last time we won an East Coast 11 a.m. start game. And we haven't won in Philadelphia in my entire life. Actually, 1986 was the last time they won in Philly.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy too. So
it is crazy. And
a lot
also,
of streaks ending, man.
Remember
Lots
the last time we went to Philadelphia, it was probably the first time in my life. Yeah, you can call me spoiled or whatever, but I started following the NFL in 2010. And obviously I wasn't like smart until like probably I was, in high school or whatever, which was, 2015 is when I started. And that's when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. But 2017, I remember the first game throughout my life that I was just like, wow, the Broncos have serious problems, was when the Eagles beat the brakes off of us in Philly. I think
they hung 50 plus on us, right?
Yeah, they hung 50 on us. At one point, the score was 51-9. And I was like, man, for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my God, this team has a lot of problems. Because in that year, we had a tendency to just get our doors blown off. And yeah, Philly had a magical season. But that was kind of the start of me being like, wow, there's a lot wrong with this franchise. And obviously 4 years ago, we had, the fumble, Melvin Gordon fumble, which Slade took to the house that Bridgewater didn't whatever. But ever since then, the Eagles have only gotten better. And, one of the Super Bowl champions, they're a good team for a reason. Now, do they have the same striking distance and fear that they did last year? No, I don't think so. Even the broadcasters were talking about it. Philly hasn't hit their final form yet, but we don't care. The fact that you were able to go in that, it still doesn't make it any less impressive, in my opinion, because you knew what the Eagles were coming into this game. You knew what they were coming into the season. And the fact that you actually won this game above all else shows so much grit and character about this team.
Yeah. Insanity, man. Insanity. And great to see Evan Ingram get that touchdown. Obviously a huge one.
Oh, yeah.
But good to see him involved. And hopefully we can continue to see more Evan, because I just think he's such a weapon. But, man, what a game. Overall, it was just wonderful to see. And can you believe we got 20 carries from J.K. Dobbins? We actually got it to where a running back gets 20 carries. That's I think it's definitely the first time since Sean Payton's been the Broncos head coach that a running back's gotten 20 carries. But even I think I was looking at it since 2006, it only happened 5 times. So very rare. And to do it in a game where you were trailing most of it is crazy. I mean, just like I said, kudos to Sean Payton. I think he called a hell of a game. Made all the right decisions. He really got the team fired up, and there was no quit. So, man, you love to see that. Looking ahead, man, how you feeling about the London game? Do you feel like this can be a crazy trap game for the Broncos like I do?
I mean, international games are always weird, but if there's anything that we learned from this early window, it's that the Broncos can be gutsy when they need to be gutsy. But if there's anything else that we've learned from the early window, it's that the New York Jets just look lifeless so far. I think, have they won a game yet? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, no. So they look very lifeless, and I feel bad because I want the Jets to succeed, obviously, because they have our guy, Darren Moogie. They're my second favorite team, I guess, in the AFC if I had to choose another one besides the Broncos, especially after what they did to Aaron Rodgers, and Moogie called him and was fired him, made him fly across the country to fire him. I love him for that. Lifelong Aaron Rodgers hater. But overall, with the Jets, I'm just man, this is a team that we should take care of. Now, if there's one thing to watch out for, it seems like the Jets are kind of cooking on the ground. It seems like the rushing offense has been really, really good. Now, am I worried about Justin Fields against our secondary? No, but this is the same guy who 2 years ago he played a really good first half of football against us. I'm pretty sure he didn't throw an incomplete pass until the third quarter of that game. So you still got to be wary. He's still a guy who can hurt you if you're not careful. That being said, we see the Broncos take care of business against bottom feeders, and this is another one that they should take care of business. I know that it's on uneven ground, especially flying across the country, only having 6 days to prepare for that. But yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely should. We definitely should get a pretty easy victory out there, no doubt about it. How do you feel about them? I kind of like that they're just flying out right after the game immediately.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only thing you can really do in these situations. Like, what good does it do to stay in Philly for like a night and then fly back at like 8 a.m. tomorrow? Because then you just lose a day of like London time. And then, yeah, I would just go as soon as possible.
Yeah. No, I did too. I don't know why I thought that I heard something about them going to the West Virginia or whatever that place was last year for a little bit before that.
Well, I think they were supposed to, and then they just decided not to do it for whatever reason.
Definitely doesn't make sense.
No.
Definitely don't make sense. Well, man, I appreciate you joining with me. We're going to make this pretty quick because I got some things I got to go attend to this afternoon. But,
yes, sir.
Man, unbelievable win. And there's going to be a lot of videos I'm sure that Kodiak will have to talk about this game. Anything you got special coming up this week?
I mean, on my TikTok, I still have not made the 5 things that we learned from this game, which, I mean, I really need to sit down and digest what we just saw because, with all the emotions running through us right now, it's really hard for me to talk pragmatically about this football team. But overall, yeah, I'm going to be looking at the Jets, but I'm going to be looking at us and seeing like, all right, Bo Nix finally had his signature win. So I'll definitely put something out there about that. And yeah.
Yep. I love it, man. Well, guys, make sure to go check out Kodiak's channel on YouTube at Kodiak Broncos. And then are you at Kodiak Broncos on TikTok as well?
Yes.
I know you've been crushing it on TikTok. So make sure you go check out his videos there. Otherwise, man, go Broncos, man. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day like I will. Make the Broncos great again, baby. We might have finally become a great team again. We will see. But that was a great win. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace out.
So.